then it seems like culture is the destructive factor here.
My name's Sam, and this is my channel. Do.
Hello everybody, my name's Sam, and today we'll be talking about the 1938 play Our Town, written by Thornton Wilder. Our Town is a 3-act play about a small town in New Hampshire called Grover's Corner, and it takes place between 1901 and 1913. There is no real protagonist or antagonist to this story, except for maybe life and death itself, but it does tend to focus on 2 families, the Gibbs and the Webbs, and the townsfolk they interact with, while the stage manager acts as a narrator, guiding us and interacting with us throughout the play. So both of the leading families are nuclear. We have Dr. Gibbs and Mrs. Gibbs with their oldest son George and youngest daughter Rebecca. And then we have Mrs. Webb and Mr. Webb, who is the editor of the local newspaper, and their oldest daughter Emily and younger son Wally. We follow the families as their children get older, George and Emily marry, and eventually Emily passes, giving birth to her second child. After that, we follow Emily into the afterlife, where she gets to relive a day of her own childhood, and this is where it really cements the moral of the story. Nobody appreciates life while they're living it. You see, these people were the epitome of Americana. A happy wife, a picket fence, 2 beautiful children, and a yard that smelled like cherry pie. No, literally. Wilder makes it a point to mention several times the smell of the heliotrope in Mrs. Gibbs' garden, and the plant has a similar smell to cherry pie itself. However, in large quantities, that plant can be toxic if eaten by humans, and that brings me to my next point. Simon Stimson. He ran the church choir program and suffered debilitating alcoholism. Wilder uses this character as a way to show the not-so-pretty side of living in a small town. As a reader, we never really know what troubles Simon went through or what ultimately led to his suicide, but we do know he was the gossip of the town. He showed up to church drinking and wandered the streets drunk, but because he wasn't really hurting anybody, the townspeople decided they didn't want confrontation and disguised it as minding their own business when they looked the other way. In Act 1, Mr. Webb and the stage manager address the audience as if you were in a press conference. Several actors placed in the stage ask Mr. Webb some questions, and one man asks him, "Is there no one in town aware of social injustice and industrial inequality?" And when Mr. Webb says that they are aware, the man asks why no one is doing anything about it and storms away. And Mr. Webb responds, "Well, I don't know. I guess we're all hunting like everybody else for a way the diligent and sensible can rise to the top and the lazy and quarrelsome can sink to the bottom. But it ain't easy to find. Meanwhile, we do what we can to help those that can't help themselves, and those that can, we leave alone." But did they really think Simon had the means to help himself? Or were they so wrapped up in living their Americana lifestyle that they couldn't be bothered? In the afterlife scene, Simon bitterly tells Emily that the life of the living is a life of ignorance and bliss. And while this could be interpreted as self-deprecation, it could also be applied to those around Simon while he was living. The church gossips without offering sincere aid. The constable looks the other way without sitting him down and talking to him about wandering the streets drunk. How many opportunities have there been to help this man that the townspeople have just ignored to not upset a cultural norm? If the theme of Our Town is about truly being in the moment and the experience of human connectedness, then it seems like culture is the destructive factor here. The townspeople of Grover's Corner were too concerned about their Americana lifestyle to ever form a connection beyond a shallow layer, and that inability to fully reach out is at least in part to blame for the death of Simon Stimson. No, it wouldn't have cured his alcoholism or depression or whatever the man was going through, but maybe if he had somebody that was really present in a time of his life that was such a dark period, he could have helped himself. And that is why Americana killed Simon Stimson. Thank you all for watching my video. I hope you tune in next week for more shenanigans, and until next time, have a good night.